I'm sure many of you can say the same of this statement that I'm going to open with today, and that is that in my lifetime, there have been several times that I really knew that God spoke something to me that I should do, that I should follow through, that I should obey. In my case, it's not always a case of, a hand from heaven writing on the wall. It's not an audible voice, but it's something inside of me, something deep down inside of me that I know what I'm supposed to do or I'm not supposed to do. And I know without a doubt it was His voice speaking to me and guiding me and directing me. I remember one time in particular that this comes to mind was a time when I was driving down the interstate, and in front of me was a pickup truck, and in the back of the truck it had a large cardboard box like the size of a washing machine. And I don't know what was in it, if it in fact was a washing machine or if it was something else, I don't know. But as I was following behind this truck, I just felt strongly to move over and get from behind him. I just felt it. There was no reason. It didn't even appear to be blowing around or moving around. I just felt strongly to move over, and I remember getting over into the other lane, and I began to go a little faster to get ahead of him. And just as I did, that box flew out of the back of the truck, and had I stayed behind him, it would have landed on my car. Again, whether it was empty or not, it would have certainly caused me to respond and possibly have an accident on the freeway. That's just an example of something that, as I was putting this together, came to mind of the times that God gives us a direction, He speaks to us, He nudges us, and we have an opportunity to listen to His voice or not. We have an opportunity to obey when He leads and guides and directs us or not. Well, in 1 Kings chapter 13, we read this chapter this week, and this chapter is about a man who is referred to as a man of God. It doesn't say his name in the entire chapter, but at the beginning of my chapter in 13, it's entitled The Message of the Man of God. And I'm going to read a few verses throughout, but I'll condense the story for time's sake. You can reread this chapter if you don't recall reading it, but we'll see what this man of God learned and the importance of listening to God's voice. So it says in 1 Kings 13:1, "And behold, a man of God went from Judah to Bethel by the word of the Lord. And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense." So this man of God goes over to Judah, from Judah to Bethel. And it says in Scripture, he went by the word of the Lord. The Lord told him to go, and he went. We could sit right there on that verse for a minute, and we could think about our lives. When the Lord tells us to do something, are we willing to do it? Well, Lord, why do I need to go to Judah? Lord, why do I need to do this? Could you give me a clear picture? No, it says the man of God went at the word of the Lord, and he went to Bethel, and he found Jeroboam at the altar. And this is where I'm going to condense the story down for just a few moments. He gives Jeroboam, the king, a word from the Lord. And he even goes on to give him a sign that this is what's going to happen. In fact, he tells him that the altar would split open and it would be covered with ash. And he said that would be done so that everyone would know, this was the sign, that everyone would know that this word was from the Lord. Well, when Jeroboam hears it, he yells out to the people to arrest him. He doesn't like what he's saying. He says, "Arrest him." And the minute he says it, his hand withers, and he is unable to use his hand at that point. Well, also what happened is the sign took place. The altar was split and the ash covered it. So right here we see these cases of this man of God is following the word of the Lord, and everything the word of the Lord said was going to happen is happening. So it's confirmation that he's doing what God had sent him to do. King Jeroboam asked him to pray for him that his hand would be restored. The man of God prayed and his hand was restored. Again, God is obviously behind what this man of God is doing. Then King Jeroboam invites him to come to my home and be refreshed, and I want to reward you. And this is the response that the man of God says in verse 8 through 10. The man of God said to the king, "If you were to give me half of your house, I would not go with you, nor would I eat bread nor drink water in this place. For so it was commanded by the word of the Lord, saying, you shall not eat bread nor drink water, nor return by the same way you came. So he went another way and did not return by the way he came to Bethel. This man of God, the next thing we see after he refuses the king, because nope, the word of the Lord told me not to stay, don't eat, don't drink. And God's already confirmed everything that he said so far, so he doesn't. The next thing we see in the story is there's an old prophet in the town, and this old prophet hears that this man of God is there. So far, when we get to this section in Scripture, this is the first mention of this old prophet in this area. It says in verse 14 through 17, so they saddled the donkey for him, and he rode, and he went after the man of God, and he found him sitting under an oak. Then he said to him, "Are you the man of God that came from Judah?" He said, "I am." Then he said to him, "Come home with me and eat bread." And he said, "I cannot return with you nor go with you, neither can I eat bread nor drink water with you in this place, for I have been told by the word of the Lord, you shall not eat bread nor drink water here, nor return by going the way you came." And then the old prophet says this to him, "Well, I too am a prophet as you are, and an angel spoke to me by the word of the Lord, saying, bring him back with you to your house, that he may eat bread and drink water." And then it says in parentheses, he was lying to him. So far, the man of God has had confirmation after confirmation after confirmation of what God has told him to do. And then this old prophet invites him to come. And in verse 19, it says, so he went back with him and ate. The story goes on to tell us that when he finally left the house, he was killed. He died. The man of God died because of disobedience. What made him go to the old prophet's house? Well, I don't know. I know one thing he did. He pushed out the voice of God. He pushed out the word from God. Did you remember how many times we read that statement? I can't do that. The word of the Lord said no. I can't do that. The word of the Lord said no. Oh, nope. God told me I can't. Well, okay, yeah, I'll go. I don't know what made him go. I don't know what made him change his mind. He ignored the direction God had given him. We know that. Maybe he put more trust in the old prophet and doubted himself. Maybe he was hungry. Maybe he thought this was a strange request from God. Surely this wasn't God's voice. I don't know what the man of God was thinking, but I know the consequence, because in those next few verses, 23 and 24, it says, when he left, he was killed, because he put other voices above God's voice. Look, when you know that God has spoken to you, when you know, and he has directed you and led you to do something, and maybe he's even confirmed it to you, when you know all of that, don't let anyone else's voice go above his. Seek counsel if you need it. Confirm things in the word if you need it. Absolutely. But once you know that you know what God has told you to do, go in the fullness of the Spirit. Go in obedience and go in confidence that God is with you, and he did direct you, and he did guide you. Because here's the deal. The cost of disobedience is great. It's a high, high price. Don't let any other voice crowd out God's voice in your mind and in your heart. And then be quick to obey.